Hello everybody, Joshua Phillips for Joshua Phillips Mathematics Tutoring. I'm looking for students in the Moundsville, Wheeling area in West Virginia. If you're interested, you can comment wherever you're seeing this video or on facebook.com/Joshua Phillips Mathematics or via email at joshuaphillipsmathematics@gmail.com. Phillips is Phillips. Just a quick little video today, put out some content. One thing that's been my experience with a little bit of math tutoring that I find very awkward is that really basic arithmetic and really basic mathematical skills seem to be, I'm not sure if it's under-taught or under-focused on, but the end result I've seen quite frequently is that people, they have their high school diplomas or they have their GEDs and have ended up even like in college algebra courses, get there even though their ability to do basic arithmetic is very limited. I don't mean they're not really fast at it. I don't mean that, they wouldn't win some speed mathematics contest. I mean that you'll have adults who are trying to grapple with college algebra course, teaching, for instance, calculating compound interest on loans, which is, I would say, a relatively straightforward process, but it is a few steps up in terms of how you're dealing with various concepts and dealing with mathematical operations that are not immediately obvious what you're doing in a physical sense. And the problem I would run into trying to help people learn this is that their arithmetic and very basic algebra skills would be almost non-existent. They could properly type the math into a calculator. They generally would be able to work it out given, a few minutes to very slowly go through the process with a decent error rate. And what I find weird about this, and this isn't, I'm not going to claim I know where the problem is or what the approach that would be the answer is necessarily, but what's weird about that to me is that mathematics is very highly on the side that the concepts build upon each other. So, to do long division, you need addition and subtraction skills, you need a grasp of the number system. To do algebra, you need a very good grasp of arithmetic and an understanding of how the operations actually work. Concepts such as order of operations have to be learned. And the vast majority of the math that most people will experience follows this pattern that it's not a disconnected set of information, it's a set of tools and concepts that tend to be extensions and build-ups of previous ideas. So I think it's a real shame that people are not, for whatever reason, are not given focus and time to say, it's really important you get the basic arithmetic down really well. And I understand that in principle this would take perhaps a lot of time, right? You wouldn't be able to teach kids trigonometry if you're spending a ton of time focusing on making sure their basic arithmetic and basic algebra skills are top-notch. On the other hand, I think it is a necessary plan because if you want mathematics to be a useful life skill, right, it's not esoteric contemplation of numbers. It is a practical, useful tool that is valuable for life, valuable for understanding the world, valuable for being able to manage things in your life. Then if we want that, you have to understand the basics and be good at doing them at a reasonable rate of speed. And that's really important. Secondly, I think this would actually be more helpful in teaching the higher concepts because what you want, in my experience, when you're tutoring somebody is that you want a relatively clear understanding of where they got confused or where they're lost. Because what I frequently had happen when I tutored somewhere locally was that people would come in with college algebra problem. Perfectly fine. Generally, I would work one example of the problem just to see if You know, somebody working the problem through slowly, maybe using simpler numbers in the problem, maybe leaving aside for now the actually discerning the information from the problem and just showing them the math, whether that would help, just to check where they were. And what was frequently would happen is, you know, that wouldn't catch them up. Perfectly fine. It's okay to be, you know, lost or confused about what you're trying to learn. I would then back up to a simpler version of the problem, or back up to a very basic, similar concept. So I would take a very simple algebra problem and say, you know, does this seem familiar? Do you understand how you would deal with this problem? And I would get confusion there. And we'd back up to wherever they were, however far back that was. But this created this very significant problem, which is that if you're in a mathematics class that's teaching a particular content, particular syllabus it's using, if you're not basically already at the beginning of that class when you get there, not only do you have to learn a bunch of new material, but it's going to be really hard to understand that material because you're going to be spending the vast majority of your actual time trying to figure out the more basic stuff so that you can do the problems correctly. So, although it might seem like it would be a waste of time to be really devotional to getting the arithmetic down, getting the very basic algebra down, you know, to some minor extent memorizing multiplication tables, for instance, it seems like that would be a huge waste of time in certain ways because we have calculators and they do work. But what I've experienced is that if people don't learn the basics really well, then it actually ends up wasting a lot more time because, you know, they don't have the basic knowledge, and that's always going to be an issue. And secondly, it actively inhibits learning anything more complicated because you lose that sense of understanding, you lose that sense of context, and you lose the ability to clearly articulate where you got lost. So thank you everybody for watching. As I said at the beginning of the video, I'm from the Moundsville Wheeling area of West Virginia. You can reach me, comment wherever you're seeing the video. Joshua Phillips Mathematics on Facebook, or joshuaphillipsmathematics@gmail.com. Phillips is Phillips. Thank you and have a good day.